So I actually was diagnosed 10 years ago. So I was diagnosed when I was 23. So I had implants for about 9 years and had issues about 2 years ago after I had a capsular contracture and was dealing with pain. And I always tell people they never felt right. I always had discomfort and I just kind of dealt with it because I didn't want to have more surgeries. I didn't want to have more things. But the pain only got kind of worse, especially after the capsular contracture. And so I decided to explant. Wow, it's 4 months ago now. So I'm a new flatty. I'm new into this space, but that being said, I'm really thankful to be in this space because I wish it had been an option presented to me when I was diagnosed. I'm not saying, and I tell people this all the time, I wouldn't necessarily have taken it as a choice at 23, but looking back, it just would have been nice for it to be on the table because it wasn't. It was
Right.
silicone or saline. What do you want? And because I didn't, qualify for any of the other options at the time, and but it just made it seem like that was something that women older than me
Right.
like had as a surgery, and that was the only folks even at that time that I knew. And so that was what was normalized to me was
Right.
that this is something for older women who don't care about their bodies. And I'm saying this like cavalierly, because I
Yeah.
don't mean it that way. I just
Right.
want to be very clear, right?
No, I
Because
know
I
what you
think
mean. They
we
think we
all
don't
care
care what we
about,
look like when in fact we do care what we look like.
yes, which
It's a conscious choice.
exactly, and speaks to the importance of the aesthetic flat piece of it too, not just flat closure, but aesthetic flat closure. And so, yeah, so for me, it was more of, it was a pain management reason, and it was also to feel better in my body. I talk about this like on my page at different points since I've been recovering from this surgery, that I feel like I've taken the first deep breath I've taken in 9 years. Like it was literally like when I woke up, I was like, I can actually breathe. What is this? Because I always felt like my chest was constricted because of my implants. It was wild.
And do you teach yoga?
I do. Yeah. So right now it's like I'm still like somewhat new. I was certified about a year, almost a year and a half ago or so. And so I teach a weekly meditation group for breast cancer folk. So previvors, survivors, and thrivers, and that's a free space for folks. And then I also teach stage 4 folks through a nonprofit known as Project Life MDC. So that's a space for them. And it's been really great. I really love teaching yoga because for me, been a way for me to come back to my body after surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because cancer, a lot of times, as many of us know, disconnects us from our bodies. It's very much like your body becomes a very clinical thing almost. And so coming back to your body is like such an important part of healing to me. It was. And so yoga was just one avenue for me to find that.
I'm curious, did you have implants under the muscle or over the
It
muscle?
was under, so yeah, so I definitely
Right.
have. So even now, like I'm still like dealing with some right pectoral pain, and it's just, I mean, I manage it, and it's gotten better since explant. But
Right.
it's one of those things that, again, no one talked about. Hey, this might be something you're going to deal with,
Yeah.
and even long term. And my thing is, a lot of times it's always about what is the aesthetic, what is that going to look like, and yeah, that matters. And in terms of flat closure, it definitely matters. But I think it's such a focus on that. And it's like, what am I going to feel like in my body? Am I going to be able to get up and do the tasks that I need to do?
Right.
And so
Our
there's
body is a tool. It's not an ornament, you
that.
know, and the idea of function should be the priority as opposed to, how are we going to decorate this thing that we live in. And I like you, I had my implants replaced under the muscle, and I've lost the movement needed to swim, so I don't have that rotation with my arm. When they put my pec muscle down, it had torn off the sternum. It was sitting on top of my implant, between my clavicle and my implant, and they could only pull it down to the fourth rib, which it's not where its origin is. The fifth rib is where it
Yeah.
inserts. So it's that was on my prophylactic side, so that I would not have to take tamoxifen, and I have family history of breast cancer, and I had just no idea that I was risking function. And now, as an advocate, I listen to a lot of surgeons talk, and as I kind of feel like the microvascular surgeons who do deep flap are more willing to say, hey, lifting a muscle, distorting a muscle is not really the way you want to go. And the surgeons who only do implants are not talking about that as much. And that's something that I think people in the flat movement, especially explants, are talking about, the dysfunction and the comfort. And so you're going to be able to do yoga like you were doing yoga for a year or so with your implants under there, and now without them, when you heal,
Oh,
it's got to be different.
it's already made such a, I mean, again, I'm only 4 months out, and I was saying this to a colleague. They're running a half marathon, and they asked me to join them, and I said, let me see how I recover. I'm already running miles, Renee. Like, I'm already running. Like, it's insane. Like, all the past 9 years, I couldn't. Like, it literally was difficult for me to run. It was like I like felt like I couldn't breathe. My chest hurt, and now I'm like, this is amazing. I like to run. I just didn't. It's insane.
I know. No bra required.
No problem. Exactly. And it's just, you don't realize how much, like, you actually, like, I joke with my friends, I'm more aerodynamic now.
I like that. Sleep. The wind goes right past us.
Yes.
So how did you learn about the campaign, and what made you want to dive in as a leader? Like, you're just 4 months out from being flat, and I love, like, you just dove in this year.
Yeah, so for me, like I was saying, that was not an option for me in the table, and I've connected to some younger folks in the flat community, and and folks that are maybe a few years older than me, and I really wanted to just be a face of, like, hey, you can also be a younger cancer survivor and also be flat and also be happy and also be, like, in your body, and do that for yourself. And the younger folks I've connected who have either explanted or who have, just gone straight to flat, we had these similar experiences of, wow, we feel so much better in our bodies. Yes, our clothes still fit in a beautiful way. We can still be feminine and gorgeous, and we can be ourselves in that way. And that was my biggest fear, was like bathing suits and clothes. And no, none of that mattered actually. And once I was, I was so nervous up to the day of surgery, and like, that wasn't it. And so for me, it was like, it's about putting a face to that, like a different, another face to it. And just to say, that this is okay, that this is another option. And again, I like to always say to folks to be very clear, like, advocating for this does not, like, diminish if you wish to get reconstruction for folks who choose that path, right? But then also understanding that this is also an option on the table. That is the biggest thing. Like, this is on the menu. This is what it is involved. And if it's something you want to know more about, we should tell you. We want to tell you more about it, right? Like, that's really, to me, because I wish for me, I mean, even 5 years ago, I wish I had known about this and that it was an okay option for me. And I say it like that because I just feel like having reconstruction in a lot of particularly younger breast cancer spaces is just a normal thing. And that's, again, it's fine, but also let's normalize that this is true, that both are there.
Right. And, putting it on the table up front, like you said, even if you hadn't chosen that at 23, you would have known in your mind, hey, when I'm ready to take these out, when I'm ready, when they need to be replaced, when there's capsular contracture, when, I think the FDA is recommending MRI surveillance now of all breast implants from reconstruction. So, it would have been something that you knew, like, hey, there comes a day when I'm tired of this, then that's when I can go to aesthetic flat closure. It's always an option for me.
Yeah. And I think just to, like, normalize, not even just that, but like that there doesn't have to be fear around it, I guess, too, because I think that was also a big component for me. So I never had, like, tattooed nipples or got a tattoo or anything like that. And my doctors would ask me, because they would just see my scars over my with my implants, and they're like, oh, you're not going to do anything? And I was like, no, I don't think so, because and I have a feeling I'm not going to have these forever. Like, I think I just always knew that this was the route I was going to go. But I think, it's one of those things where until I saw other folks, and this became more of a normalized thing where folks are talking about it and promoting aesthetic flat closure, that I feel safe to do that, that I felt
Right.
okay to do that.
Right.
And I want others to feel safe to do that.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
idea of telling people, you know, oh, you're not doing, you know, phase 2, or you're not doing a nipple. It's like, they act as if you're not finished with your treatment. And, you know, no,
Yeah.
we're finished when we say we're finished. It's, you know, let's take care of the cancer. That's a priority. And then the rest is kind of like, maybe we take care of it in this way or that way. But I don't like that when women are kind of told, like, you know, oh, you're not doing this. Or some women have gone in and their surgeons have said to them, for medical appointments, and like, you know, oh, you go out on the street like that? Like they weren't wearing breast forms? And I think that they need to be updated. They don't know. They don't know. And so having young women like you is part of this campaign is so important. Like the visibility that you give to this movement, when people see you wearing a shirt, not wearing your shirt, having brochures for aesthetic flat closure, talking about it, it does normalize it for a younger crowd. And the idea of clothing is like, I mean, for me, the biggest game changer was when I realized, because I loved tight t-shirts. That's all I wore like my whole life, just boring and fun. Like that's what I liked. And I realized, oh, I just need to cut out the collar of my t-shirt. And suddenly like my clavicle's there and it looks like a great t-shirt, sometimes cut here, but do some cuts on it. And I never had to do that before. But once I did that, I'm like, okay, t-shirts, I can own t-shirts again.
Yeah. And I think that was the thing, finding the way, but also showing that there is a way after going flat, right? So like for me, a lot of halters have become like my like go-to, like kind of what you're wearing, and like yeah. That's my go-to like outfit. Like because I find that's really flattering and also just really comfortable, and and so I think it's but just again, I think it's normalizing it in the same way we normalize a lot of things in the cancer space. It's just that this hasn't been talked about enough. And I was just really excited to see that, because again, I think for me as a younger person, and who's been in the community a long time, I really feel like this is the time. Like this is where we really need to be saying like, hey, this is another beautiful option, and this is beautiful too. Like I just want to keep saying like, this is part of that.
Yeah, I really feel like this flat movement is part of the bigger body positive movement of really, no one has there's no one definition of beauty. No one has the market on how you're supposed to look and what's the best for you. Like everyone gets to decide that for themselves. And so, you see corporations embracing, non-traditional beautiful bodies. And I feel like we're just part of that. And so it really I feel supported in so many ways by the community, but just in the broader sense of what's going on in the culture, the bigger cultural movement.
Yeah. And I just really think it speaks to the fact that, when we think about how antiquated like gender roles and like gender expectations are, and it's the same idea, right? That, hey, if you identify as a woman, you don't need to have breasts to identify as a woman and to be feminine and to do that. And again, if that is how you identify. So I just feel like that's always, to me, really also like breaking down those, again, really antiquated norms that we have that exist.
Right. Why do we need walls up? It's kind of, yeah. Tell us when your walk is again, and the date and where it is and how people can find you.
Yeah. So my walk is on Sunday, October 16th. And it is in Providence, Rhode Island. It's Making Strides of Providence. And probably the easiest way to find out about specifically the walk is to go to Stantal AFC and to kind of sign up through there. Because that has the link, the direct link to the page and all of that stuff. But also if folks, want to connect with me on Instagram, I'm Yoga with Jess on Instagram, and especially other breast cancer friends. I love to talk about aesthetic flat closure and explant and what that was like for me, and just really the importance of advocating for yourself with your doctors too, and what that can look like. And so, always happy to have those conversations with folks. But yes, Making Strides of Providence, October 16th. It's an earlier event. I think it starts around like 7:30, but it's Making Strides. I think is what it says. Yeah, maybe 7:30. I have to double check. But yeah, 7:30.
Bring your scarf.
Yeah, but it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be great.
You also mentioned that you teach meditation within the breast cancer community. Is that something that is open to people? Do you want to tell them about that too and where they could find you?
Sure, yeah. So for folks, this is a weekly, it's free for breast cancer folks. So it's open to, again, breast cancer pre-vivors, survivors, thrivers. And it is it's on Sundays at 8 p.m. EST. So do your conversions for my PST folks, 5 p.m. Yeah. Yeah. And I do that. I might move to Mondays, but again, following me on Instagram is the best bet because I'll always update there. And I have an email list through my bio on Instagram. But, you know, anyone is welcome. That's a really open space. And because it's meditation, I have folks joining when they're active in treatment, folks who have just finished treatment. And it's a really beautiful space. I have a lot of folks who come consistently to this space, and flatties, not flatties, but it's all women impacted by breast cancer, folks impacted by breast cancer who really just want to be in shared space with people who get it. And the meditation is just a way to ground before going into the week. So
thank you. That sounds beautiful. I'm going to have to join you one night.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I will. Well, thank you again for being here, for standing tall, for being an advocate, and sharing the space with us, Justine.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hope to see you soon.
All right. Bye.